Welcome to the Bernadette Jackson Podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues by discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insight, all from the perspective of a fatherless daughter. I'm your host, Bernadette, of BernadetteJackson.com. In our last episode, I mentioned that trust leads to vulnerability, and vulnerability leads to intimacy. If you listen to my series on fatherless daughter trigger points, then you heard me say that fatherless daughters struggle with intimacy in relationships. Last time, we unpacked trust a bit, and I gave my tips on how to build trust in relationships and in yourself. This episode, I want to talk about vulnerability. What does that look like for the fatherless daughter, and what steps can she take to start to feel safe enough to offer it in relationships? Vulnerability is such a scary word for us because it is the literal peeling back of all our protective layers to expose the raw, painful, and broken bits of ourselves that we keep hidden away. It's allowing someone access to examine the deepest crevices of who you are and trusting them to be gentle with it and not judge or reject it, right? It's not easy to do, even if we want to experience the fulfillment on the other side. I ran away from vulnerability for 15 years. I swore after my first breakup in college that I would never be vulnerable in relationships again. I used to believe that being vulnerable was synonymous with being weak, and showing weakness was not something that I was willing to do. However, when I began to heal from my father loss, I began to see that allowing someone access to my thoughts and my feelings and fears and hurts, although hard, wasn't as life-shattering as I had made it out to be. So how do we begin to take steps towards vulnerability? Let's first remember that vulnerability, like trust, is earned. Here are a few things that I do to build my vulnerability muscle in relationships. First, I get clear about how I feel about the experiences I've had, good, bad, and ugly. You cannot invite someone in to experience your authentic self if you don't know who you are and why you're the way you are. Sitting with your feelings on things, writing them down, processing them is going to give you insight into how you really feel and why. Next, examine how the relationship you're in makes you feel. Do you feel safe to share? Are your expressed feelings validated? Note that I said expressed feelings because we can't judge someone for not knowing and validating something we haven't told them. Does your partner share themselves with you, or are they closed off? Answering these questions will help you begin to determine if your partner has earned your vulnerability. Lastly, don't feel pressured to jump into the deep end of vulnerability. Wait in the kiddie pool for a little while. Open up about small things and see how you feel, as well as how your partner receives the information. The more you share and vulnerability is encouraged with the mutual sharing of experiences, the easier it will be to continue to share. It will be scary, it will feel foreign, but keep taking small steps forward, especially if your partner is taking those steps with you. I hope these tips on how to express vulnerability were helpful. So if they were, I'd love to hear from you. DM me at Bernadette N. Jackson, that's BernadetteNjackson, and let me know how you handle vulnerability in your relationships. A new episode drops every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.